and welcome to Coping Mechanisms, a show where we talk about difficult things while making adorable drawings. It's like a blankie for adults. I'm your host, Kat Randall, and today I'm talking with Hannah.
Hi!
Hannah is a friend and an art historian and an activist and an all-around cool lady. And today we're going to be talking about depression. Yay!
It's so exciting,
So
except when
exciting.
it's not.
Except when it's happening, when it's definitely not very fun and exciting at all.
So real.
And Hannah has requested that I draw a hippopotamus struggling to get into an old-timey bathing suit.
Because I was like, if we're going to spend 20 minutes talking about the effects of depression on our lives, we should have something that's both adorable and hilarious, and this was the funniest thing that I could think of at the time.
Ridiculous.
Which was also a day that I was having a really, really bad mental health day.
Yay!
Really low on spoons, and I was like, you know what? I would really like to see Kat draw a hippopotamus trying to put on a swimsuit.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do.
So that's what we're doing. This one's a little bit more complicated, so I did do an underdrawing, but, a sketch. But so I'm cheating a little bit today, but that's okay. We just want to talk about what it's like going through depression, what it looks like,
Yeah.
basically. Because, you were saying that you have very high-functioning sort of depression, right?
Yeah, well, or sometimes it looks that way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this kind of oscillation between, days when everything looks totally fine from the outside in all of the ways, and then days when, I have, the symptoms that people think of as classic depression but don't see, I wake up and it's like I'm pinned to the bed and it's like, oh my God. I don't know what getting out of the bed would look like.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, why, yeah.
Yeah, and where everything, getting out of the bed costs you something. Walking to the shower and turning on the shower costs you something. By the time you have, gotten out of the shower and gotten dressed, you're like, I'm out of resources. I'm done for today. I'm done. And then somehow, this was the day when I thought of the hippopotamus, the swimsuit, it was that I had a completely full day of things and just, drug myself ass backwards through, going to lecture, working on a project, being in seminar for 3 hours, and, everybody could definitely tell something was wrong. But it was also just I was being late places. I was kind of absent. And my concern is that that people's assumption about it is that, I'm being really flaky or that I'm not invested in them. And that the fact that what it is actually just that I'm so out of resources and what I'm doing internally is a monumental struggle doesn't come across.
Yeah. Because it's little things, and so it seems like it shouldn't be a monumental struggle.
Yeah, it's little things, and sometimes the way it looks. I mean, people think, you think about ads for, Cymbalta and Effexor, and there's, the woman who's lying on the couch with the blanket watching TV, and the dog is, whining to go out, and, why won't you play with me? And it's your loved ones need you.
Yeah.
There are people who care. And it's yeah, okay, definitely. Sometimes it absolutely looks like me lying on the couch for, 16 hours at a time. But also sometimes it looks like me being inexplicably irritable, forgetting about things that otherwise I normally am capable of doing,
Yeah, things just feel like... It's not that you can't do the things, but they cost you more.
They cost so much, and it comes out in ways that are that seem really oblique or lateral to what we think of as classic depression.
Yeah.
And so whether that's just staring off into space for ages, being totally unable to focus, this has been one of the worst ones in grad school, is there are days where I can focus for 15 minutes at a time, tops.
Oh, wow.
It's the worst.
Yeah, that's not good for grad school.
No, it's not. It means that, it takes me an hour and a half to read an article because I have to stop every 15 minutes to do something else.
Because you can't just focus on one thing at a time.
Brain's like, oh, you read a paragraph? Yeah, we're done now. What's next? And I'm like, nope, nope. Read one paragraph, like, you are not 8. Keep going. I was a better reader than that at 8. Like,
yeah. Curiously speaking, like, when did your, like, depressive symptoms, like, onset?
It's a little bit of a complicated question because, my family's rhetoric around mental health is, not always... I think probably there were aspects of this that surfaced much earlier for me that weren't really talked about or acknowledged in my house, or that were kind of framed as, that's just how some of us are, or like you're just having a bad day, or, that's just kind of neurosis, and some people are more neurotic and some people are not. And while on the one hand, I think that's absolutely true, I think I was definitely having symptoms that could have been flagged as early as like 12 or 13. Excuse me, sorry.
Air quality in Southern
That's another
California
discussion.
Right now, not so great. Wildfires.
Yeah, right.
Whatnot.
Wildfires can be next episode of coping mechanisms.
Yay.
Right?
How to escape.
Oh, God.
How to escape a giant wall of fire
Coming
for you. And all of
2017, is it the apocalypse? Please discuss.
Please discuss. Yeah.
But so, yeah, I think that's something that I have been contending with for a lot longer than anybody kind of recognized, but in a kind of concerted clinical way only since graduate school. At least that's it's been like recognized and diagnosed and treated since graduate school.
Yeah.
So
no, I was just I find it interesting because I think it seems pretty common that it's like mostly like young adulthood, right? Where once you start actually having to like deal with reality, and be an adult, these things kind of, not that they weren't there to begin with, but that like they...
I mean, it's also, it's like, it's a heavily acculturated thing that we also only recognize in certain contexts, which is something that, like, is a major kind of open question and unaddressed concern, that, like, women are far more likely to be depressed than men. And obviously, those aren't absolute gender categories, but, like, queer people, highly likely to be depressed. Actually, bisexuals, bi folks and trans folks, under the kind of like quilt bag umbrella, are two of the highest rate categories for depression, actually.
But, I mean, there's also stigma against men talking about feelings. So, like,
absolutely.
The idea that women are actually more depressed or more prone to depression isn't necessarily the same as, like, men don't get depressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and part of this, I was actually just reading about this the other day, is that symptoms of depression in men aren't always validated as such, right? That, like, irritability and excessive anger, which is definitely something that's in my past experience of my depression and also other people's depression. Right? But, I mean, and this also, perceptions of that are cultural. Like, I also think about the fact that, like, often the feelings of, especially women of color, aren't validated because the impression is that, oh, you're just being angry or something like that, or you're not being reasonable, and that's not validated as something that, isn't someone's fault in a kind of, like, fault system way. Yeah. And obviously, far more intelligent women of color have spoken on this topic, but it's something that, like, when we talk about depression, it's still something that I think about. Yeah. And that's in the back of my mind is the fact that, like, even as there are ways that I feel really frustrated by talking about this in general with people who are like, oh, you're having a bad day. Oh, have you tried yoga? The usual litany of things that people hear. that there's also a subject position that I enjoy that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And that this is one of the huge things that is still really lacking in mainstream discourse about mental health.
Is like, yeah, like racial discrimination and
is racial discrimination and the fact that people who are in dominant identity categories or some constellation of dominant subject positions, classed, raced, all the other, litany of things that we could come up with, are legitimized in certain ways that other people aren't.
Yeah, like your struggles are recognized as medical as opposed to
as
circumstantial.
Opposed to circumstantial, or as opposed to being a personal failing. I mean, because that's so much of, and I mean, I think it's a good thing that a lot of that discourse is starting to shift, but as with many things, one thing we notice is that it often shifts from the top.
Yeah.
Which is really problematic and really isn't actually a paradigm shift. It's just saying, okay, well, white women can be depressed, but everybody else, and we're going, hold on here.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a weird thing because, I find a lot of I don't know. It's important for me, personally, to be able to find a therapist or to be, a professional who can understand or at least appreciate just kind of as a matter of course, just not even with a statement about it or anything like that.
Yeah.
That a lot of the things that that kind of trigger my anxiety or my depression have a lot to do with gendered issues and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, the idea of being seen as crazy or as irrational or something like that is a huge part of not, I mean, I just feel like that's also a huge part of why we're so ready to believe that women have experienced depression, but but men don't. And it's that's because women are hysterical.
Well, and not to get on my early modernist soapbox, but it's a very old idea, right? The idea that men are mind, women are body, that there's this kind of platonic split where women are, governed by forces beyond their control and our, dangerous impulses have to be corralled, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We're just the uterus flying around your body, seeking heat and moisture.
Yeah. It's I don't know where it is right now, but man.
Real.
Yeah, I got to keep track of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one thing that, it's, it's funny because as an animator, one of the few places that you still see, a lot of animation in commercials is in depression commercials.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Anxiety.
I wonder why.
I don't know, because they don't want to show, I don't know, people.
Well, or maybe because people want something that's a little bit cheerful and cute so that it's more relatable, and maybe this is why I picked a hippopotamus putting on a swimsuit instead of a hippopotamus sitting on the couch, unable to get up.
No. This hippopotamus he's struggling to get into a swimsuit, but he's going to get it.
This hippopotamus is going to get into the swimsuit and have a great time at the beach. And look super cute in this swimsuit.
So good. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really feeling it.
Yeah, thank you.
I believe in this hippopotamus.
I
believe in his swimsuit. And he's almost there.
He's almost there. It's just that belly. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's a stretchy swimsuit. He's good. His belly's good. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's another thing. Sorry. This is totally... But yeah, for me, a lot of, and I know for a fact, a lot of women that I've talked to, weight plays a huge,
absolutely,
role in how good they feel about themselves and how depression at least affects them. Not where it comes from, but this sort of expectation of what your life is supposed to be and how much you're failing at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because weight is seen as moral.
Yeah.
Right? And size is seen as moral. So, if I've gained 20 pounds, partly because I'm on Prozac, which, like, allows me to function and live my life. That's somehow seen as detrimental.
Oh, no.
Which is, like, real screwed up, actually.
What?
Like, the idea that there's this medication that makes it a lot easier for me to function much of the time. The idea that, like, I got some extra padding when I started taking it, and that is somehow, you know, negates what's good about it. Is, like, real screwed up.
Yeah. Super, super screwed up. Yeah, but just like the expectation, I feel like there's a lot of that. Like the expectation of what happiness looks like is really, that's ultimately where this sort of like, well, I'm not there, so it must be my fault. I'm wrong. I'm doing something wrong. Why am I not happy?
But also, I mean, not to, again, get on a political soapbox, but, like, this is part of why depression is so implicated with capitalism, is because your individual failings are something that you should be working to fix, rather than looking at anything systemic. I mean, this is also tied up with the issue of depression is gender, depression is race, depression is class, right? Like, clearly, you're sad because there's something wrong with you, and you should just be happy, and you should do all these individual things within your sphere of control to fix it. It's not because you live in a system where the cards are stacked against you, and that makes it really difficult for you to make your way through your life. And if you're a Black person living in America who has PTSD because of it, like, clearly that's not the reason that you're feeling depressed. It's that you aren't exercising enough, or, like, need to get a better therapist. And it's like, obviously it's really important to do those things to make your life more bearable.
Yeah, like, it's, yeah.
But also, like, there are systemic problems at work that can make it really hard to live and thrive under an oppressive system.
What?
And the, you know, I
have a kitten interruption. Oh, he's gone. All right. Yeah, I don't know what to say except yes.
No, that's super real.
It's an interesting thing because I feel similarly to like the whole mindfulness thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, this is a really, you know, kind of popular concept right now, the idea of mindfulness. And it's not that I don't agree that, like, it can be helpful and it can help you, you know, manage a situation, right? And make your life better. Yeah. To practice this sort of calming awareness or whatever. But, like, when it's brought into this, when it's brought into a sphere of, like, workplace, right? Like, I had a coworker who was talking about, just talking about mindfulness and how it helped her just, you know, relax and not have such a hard time dealing with crazy customers or dealing with the insanity of a workplace or whatever. And I'm like, well, okay, here's the thing about that. Yes, personally, it can help you. Yeah. But at the same time,
come here, cat.
Like, you know, companies that are encouraging this as a way of, I don't know, alleviate, like, getting everybody to have this sort of mindset of like calm and everything. It's like, well, okay, there's some things you should be angry about.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it puts the responsibility, the onus back on you, right?
Yeah.
That, like, it's, again, the idea that, like, you should take care of yourself and practice self-care so that you can be a more productive employee, not because you inherently have worth and, like, you should be able to live in a community that, like, cares for you and makes sure that you are healthy and well. Like,
yeah. Like, the company is in no way responsible for creating an environment that makes you feel like you don't need mindfulness.
Well, like, a place that, lends you respect and dignity and, like, a sense of worth and, like, you are not being, you know, exploited.
Yeah.
Partly because if you are, you know, not depressed and productive, it's a lot easier for them to exploit you and it's better for them. So, like, the rhetoric of self-care, and I'm definitely hardly the first person to say this, and I won't be the last, because I know it's a discussion that's been going on all over the internet and in person in a lot of different communities, in a lot of different circles, like quote-unquote activist-y or otherwise, you know, that we've reified this idea of like, well, what you need is a bubble bath and some sparkly lights.
Yeah.
And
it's like, well, no.
Right. Sometimes what you need is like a day off and sick leave and the ability to like do your dishes and pay your bills.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Right. It's like, it's the unbeautiful self-care that actually like
matters.
Makes a
long-term difference.
And makes a long-term difference, right? And doesn't like wear off the next day. And sometimes a bubble bath and twinkly lights can be so nice. So it's not that that's invalid. It's just not the whole picture.
No. Well,
I believe in you, hippopotamus.
I believe in the hippopotamus.
I believe in us.
Get that swimsuit on and have a great time at the beach.
Absolutely. And I believe in our ability to affect radical change and think about other ways to live in a world that wants to kill us and not die in the world that wants to kill us, whatever that looks like in our diversity of experiences and struggles. So we're like the hippopotamus. We're going to put on the swimsuit. We're going to go to the beach.
We're going to go to the beach.
We can do it.
And we'll be fine.
And we'll be fine. It's going to be okay. We can make this okay.
We can make this okay. Do you have a name for Mr. Hippopotamus?
How about Francois?
All right. How do I spell that?
C with the little, what do you call the tail? No, it's the tail underneath.
Oh, darn.
It's the,
I don't know how to do French things.
Yeah, roughly like that.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Here, hang on.
You got it?
Francois.
There you go.
Oh dear.
That's okay.
Everything's terrible, but his name is Francois.
Beautiful.
And he's a hippopotamus.
And he's going to the beach.
And he's going to the beach.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We will be back next week, and we'll see what we're talking about then.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.